I thought I had it all figured out, but then I met them. It was in their eyes, their energy, something I couldn't ignore. I chose them not because you weren't enough, but because they made me feel like I was truly seen in a way I never thought I needed. It wasn't about choosing one over the other. It was about realizing that the connection I felt with them was something I had never felt before, something that made me question everything I thought I knew about love and companionship. I chose them not because you weren't worthy, but because the way they understood me without needing to ask. It felt like a piece of me I didn't know was missing had finally been found. Sometimes the heart chooses what the mind cannot comprehend. I didn't plan on it, but I felt something profound with them, something I can't just ignore no matter how hard I tried. It's not about running away from you, but realizing I was running towards something that sparked a light in me I didn't know existed. With them, it felt like a door opened to a part of myself I had long forgotten. When I looked at them, I saw a reflection of everything I wanted to be, and it wasn't a decision made lightly. It wasn't about rejecting you, but embracing a chance to grow in ways I hadn't before. I wasn't seeking someone new, but when they came into my life, the way they made me feel was undeniable. It wasn't about you or them. It was about what I needed to feel whole. Choosing them was never a matter of comparison. It was a moment when everything aligned. It was the way their energy matched mine, the way we clicked in a way I couldn't explain. It was never about choosing them over you, but about discovering that I needed something more. Something in them made me realize there were parts of myself I still hadn't met. The decision wasn't easy, but it became clear when I realized that with them, I didn't have to pretend to be something I wasn't. With them, I could finally just be me. I didn't mean to choose them, it just happened. It was the way they saw me, the way they understood the complexities of my soul. It wasn't about replacing you, it was about finding something new within myself. It wasn't that you were lacking, it was that I was discovering who I was meant to be. With them, it felt like I was taking steps toward my future, and that's why I couldn't look back. I chose them not out of spite or anger, but because I felt something more with them. It's like the universe put them in my path, and for reasons beyond my understanding, I couldn't ignore the pull. It's not about choosing sides. It's about following a path that felt true. With them, it was like the world made sense in a way I hadn't known before. The truth is, it wasn't a choice at all. When I met them, everything shifted. I found parts of myself I didn't even know existed, and with them, I felt like I was meant to be. I didn't intend to hurt you, but with them, everything felt aligned. I was drawn to something that spoke to the core of who I am. It wasn't about them being better, it was about me being more. It wasn't about comparing them to you. It was about finding someone who made me feel things I hadn't felt in a long time, and I couldn't turn away from that. Choosing them wasn't a rejection of you, but an embrace of what I needed in that moment. It was about realizing what I lacked and finding it where I least expected. With them, it was like I had found my missing piece, something that I didn't even know I was searching for. It was a feeling that couldn't be ignored. It wasn't about turning my back on you. It was about discovering connection so deep I had to explore it. With them, I felt like I could finally be understood. Sometimes the heart doesn't follow reason. I didn't intend to hurt anyone, but when they came into my life, I found myself compelled by a connection I couldn't deny. It wasn't about them being more or better. It was about how they made me feel like I was complete in a way I had never known before. When I looked into their eyes, I saw a future that felt right. It wasn't about you or them. It was about what my soul needed in that moment. I chose them not because you were lacking, but because I realized I was lacking something within myself. With them, I felt like I could truly grow into the person I wanted to become. Choosing them wasn't a decision against you. It was a decision to move forward. It was about acknowledging the path that felt like it held more promise for my growth. I never meant to make you feel replaced. It was never about that. It was about a connection that spoke to me in a way that nothing else did. With them, I saw something I hadn't seen before. It wasn't about leaving you behind. It was about recognizing what I needed and finding it when I least expected it. It wasn't a choice of love, but a choice of growth. I needed something that could challenge me, and in them, I found that challenge. When I met them, it was as though the universe conspired to show me a path I didn't know existed. It wasn't about you, but about something that I had to follow. I didn't expect it, but with them, I found a connection that made sense of my world. It wasn't about replacing you. It was about finding the truth I was meant to discover. I chose them not because I didn't care about you, but because I realized I wasn't being true to myself in our connection. With them, I found a truth I had been searching for. Choosing them didn't mean I stopped caring about you. It meant I had to let go of what was comfortable in order to grow into who I needed to become. It wasn't about what I was missing with you, but what I discovered with them. It was like I was finally able to see things clearly for the first time. The choice wasn't between you and them, it was between staying in something familiar or stepping into something that felt destined. I didn't choose them to hurt you. I chose them because for the first time in a long while, I felt like I was exactly where I needed to be. I didn't realize how much I needed change until they entered my life. It wasn't about you being wrong for me. It was about discovering something different. It's not about finding someone better. It's about realizing that in the moment, what I needed most was someone who challenged me in the best ways. When I chose them, it wasn't a rejection of you. It was an acceptance of a new chapter that I had to follow. It wasn't about comparing you to them. It was about recognizing a connection that made me feel more at peace with myself. I chose them because, in their presence, I felt like I could be my truest self, something I didn't realize I was yearning for. Sometimes love is about timing. When I met them, everything just clicked in a way that it never did before. I didn't expect to be drawn to them the way I was, but I couldn't ignore how they made me feel in ways that I never imagined. It wasn't about replacing you, it was about finding something that completed me in a way I didn't know I needed. The heart wants what the heart wants, and sometimes it leads us down unexpected paths. I didn't choose them to hurt you, but because it felt like the right thing for me. When I look back, I can see that choosing them was about embracing my own journey of self-discovery, not about making you feel less important. It wasn't that you weren't enough. It was that I needed something that challenged me to grow and evolve. With them, I found that spark. It wasn't about turning away from you. It was about realizing that I needed to find a part of myself that I could only discover with them. Choosing them wasn't about saying you weren't the one. It was about realizing that I wasn't the person I needed to be while with you. I never meant to hurt you, but with them, I felt like I had found someone who matched the future I was hoping for. When they came into my life, everything started to make sense in ways I hadn't thought possible. It wasn't about you, it was about me. It wasn't about rejection, it was about following a path that led me toward a version of myself I didn't know I was capable of being. Sometimes the heart chooses for reasons that can't be explained, and in them, I found a connection that felt undeniably right. With them, I didn't feel like I was settling. I felt like I was choosing a future that felt aligned with my deepest desires. I didn't choose them because you weren't good enough. I chose them because they brought out something in me that I needed to explore. It's never about finding someone better, but about finding someone who pushes you to be better. That's why I chose them. Choosing them didn't mean I didn't appreciate you. It just meant that my heart had found something new to follow. Sometimes the choice isn't about leaving one person for another. It's about following a feeling that can't be ignored. The decision wasn't easy, but with them, I felt something that had been missing for far too long. It wasn't about replacing you, it was about finding what was missing. I didn't choose them to hurt you. I chose them because for the first time, I felt seen and understood in ways I couldn't ignore. It wasn't that you weren't everything I needed. It's just that I didn't know what I needed until they came into my life. And when they did, I had no choice but to follow what felt right.